From the Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And today we are talking all about the team-by-team draft classes in the AFC. We are going to be going through all four AFC divisions and just kind of talking about what their draft picks look like, how the class as a whole shaped up, and to make sure, did they address the needs that they needed, or are we still scratching our heads at certain questions, So that's basically what we're going to be going through today. But as first, Tyler, we always begin with our patented quick hits. And I think we should begin with some NFL draft-related news. Andy Dalton, quarterback for the Bengals, former quarterback for the Bengals.
Yep, former, big word there.
Exactly, has been released. And the rumors that he actually asked to be released from the Bengals. What do you think of this?
Well, it makes sense considering, he wants to start.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to play.
Right.
They just drafted Joe Burrow number 1 overall, so he's like, even if they did give him the start, it's for a very limited amount of time. And honestly, in today's NFL, I kind of feel like you just need to get your rookies out there, unless you're gonna
get it over with.
Unless you're gonna get them killed, like, which I don't think Cincinnati's gonna get anybody killed.
No, I don't think so.
So, I mean, it makes sense. They were gonna start Joe Burrow at one point anyway, so might as well get out.
I saw something where it was like, if you're a first round quarterback, under the very, very rare circumstances, you're playing year one. And this was just getting it out of the way, And Andy Dalton saw the writing on the wall, and he was like, you know what, release me so that way I can go and become a free agent. And who knows? I mean, I personally think he'll end up in New England. He seems like the kind of quarterback that Bill Belichick is going to say, oh, yeah, I think I could take care of this guy. Let's, he's got the intangibles. He's a leader in the locker room. That kind of talk or whatever.
Yeah.
We're on. You know what's funny?
What?
The fact that he's on to Cincinnati now.
Oh my god.
All right, we'll end that there.
Stop it. I just don't want him to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, but realistically, where do you think he ends up?
I realistically think he's going to end up on the Jaguars.
Really?
Yeah, well, okay. It's part of me is speaking for this from like a concerned fan perspective.
Uh-huh.
I think the top 2 places are New England or Jacksonville, because he said openly he wants to start. And now there's honestly not that, at this point in the offseason, there's not that many places that would start him. Like,
there's not many holes.
Jacksonville's still going to start Gardner Minshew, and I get the perspective of you bringing somebody who's versed in the Jay Gruden offense. He had his best seasons under Jay Gruden.
Mm-hmm.
He will help Gardner, but he wants to start, and I know how fan bases work. Like, I'm not saying I have it intimate knowledge, but everyone knows how fan bases work. If you have a quarterback behind Gardner Minshew that has like a game of starting experience, Gardner Minshew can throw one pick, and people are going to be like, bench him. Dalton's better. Because
I think we're in the minority on that part.
See, I don't feel that way, but I know that the majority of people will. So
exactly.
that I don't even want the temptation, is my point.
I get that, and it makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm more worried than anything.
Would you be okay with a 1-year deal if it guaranteed you Trevor Lawrence next year?
If I could speak to a genie about it, yeah, probably, sure.
Okay,
but
cool.
But that's the thing. Like, signing Andy Dalton means that you're still trying to kind of compete, which, like, if you're really trying to tank. No, okay, come on. Andy Dalton
he does have a record of leading teams to the number 1 overall pick, which he did last year. So.
Yeah, but like before that, all we ever talk about about the Bengals is that they just kept making the playoffs and never winning. Like.
And also, I think we have to remember that Jay Gruden is now your offensive coordinator again.
Well, the thing is like Andy Dalton. I don't like Andy Dalton's clearly not as good as he used to be, but for a long time he was the epitome of the average NFL starting quarterback.
Yeah.
And under most circumstances, you don't tank with an average NFL starting quarterback. You have to have a bad quarterback.
You're right. You're right.
And if we're gonna tank, just use what we have on the roster. Don't spend money doing it.
Makes sense, but I could see a 1-year deal where he gets the guaranteed money for 1 year, and it still doesn't hold up some cap space. But whatever. We're talking about Andy Dalton way too much.
No, I don't even want to do that. No.
Okay, well, let's move on then.
New England, Andy Dalton. Please sign with New England.
Sure, I wouldn't be mad if he signed with New England. That's fine with me. Let's move forward. Tyler, today it was announced that the NCAA Board of Directors does not back the one-time transfer rule that was sponsored by, remember, it was the Pac-12 and the Big Ten. were sponsored that rule. Shocker, the NCAA Board of Directors does not back it. I mean, this is just kind of the only college football news that we've had this week, and I know it's kind of obvious.
I think that it kind of doesn't matter because the Division I Council is voting on it in May.
Right.
But that's the least shocking thing in the world.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where, like, if your mom says, "Man, I really wish no one would have eaten that piece of cake," like, you're not going to go eat the piece of cake because you don't want to get in trouble in that kind of sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's got that kind of vibes to it. So, well, just to report the news, the NCAA Board of Directors does not back the one-time transfer rule. And Tyler, I think this is my favorite story of the entire week, sans the NFL draft. Gary Patterson, head coach of TCU, is reportedly recording
I didn't believe
album.
this when you sent it to me.
I didn't believe it when I read it. Can you please share with the listeners what I named it in the rundown, please?
Walk Hard, the Gary Patterson story.
I'm so proud of that.
Frog Hard.
Frog Hard.
Frog Hard, the Gary Patterson story.
Oh my god.
I can't, like, just the title of this article. TCU coach and songwriter, as if Gary Patterson songwriting is the thing that Gary Patterson is known for.
It's
TCU
it's
coach
incredible.
and songwriter Gary Patterson using rare downtime to make album. So he's making an album.
I would argue that
about
the
what?
the headline is misleading. He is a songwriter first, then head football coach for TCU.
Maybe that's the reason they haven't been good the last 2-3 years. He's been focused. It's like when LeBron missed the playoffs with the Lakers. He was focusing too much on the late night studio album.
Oh, got it. Spending too much time in the booth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was in Fort Worth, Texas.
Tyler, are we having a listening party for when this album drops?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Here's the thing. More than anything, I just want to know what is going through a college football head coach's head in the process of making a song. Like, I'm expecting, like, all of the Big 12 coaches to listen to this, too, because they're like, we want to get inside Gary Patterson's head.
If we don't get a diss
track...
track...
Is this just a super complicated version of the Mike Leach leave the play sheet that's incorrect on the field? He's going to drop an album that's going to give hints to what they're going to do throughout the season.
Stop.
And all the Big 12 coaches are going to listen to it. And then he's
Tyler.
just going to pull it out from under them.
Tyler, your third eye is too opened. Close it.
I'm really bored right now. Okay,
I can tell. I can tell. I just want one diss track towards a backdropper who like double crossed him.
Oh my god.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
I want it so bad.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move forward from quick hits. Let's jump into our AFC team by team draft class analysis. Let's start in the AFC North, Tyler. Let's start with a team that absolutely shattered the NFL draft, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. Yep. Tyler, who in this class, like, just talk to me about this class. Like, how beautiful is this class right here?
It's perfect. Like,
it's incredible.
It's awesome. They got Patrick Queen and Malik Harrison from Ohio State for the linebacking core. They got Devin Duvernay and James Prochet, which I think are, like, now they're both smaller receivers, which is a thing that I am a little... So... Lamar Jackson had a really good season last year, both running and passing. He was really good, but I do think the receiving core needed help.
Yeah.
They've got Marquise Brown, but outside of that, they don't have much. Now, what they do have is they do have Mark Andrews. So, like,
right now, but Mark Andrews is getting up in age.
And
he's
Mark
getting
Andrews is like only been in the league like 2-3 years.
Mark Andrews?
Yeah, Mark Andrews. He was from Oklahoma. He played with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. Oh. Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Sorry, I thought of someone else. My bad.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like,
my bad.
I badly misjudged the situation.
No, my bad.
They fill a lot of the speed and like slot type roles, which is good. I think Baltimore's gonna have a really good year. They got J.K. Dobbins. We already talked about it last week.
That's the biggest thing. We talked about it last week. You're right, but I think it still needs to be said the fact that this running attack is now going to include Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson, and J.K. Dobbins. Like, this is three...
Justice Hill is also on the team.
The former TCU running back, Justice Hill.
Oklahoma State.
Who am I thinking of Hill, then, on TCU?
Kenny
I'm going
Hill?
crazy, man. Might be Kenny Hill. I'm going crazy, man. I'm so sorry. Quarantine's getting to me today. Listeners, you're hearing it firsthand. is really what's going on through here. But I think you're right. I think the biggest additions here are definitely in their biggest position of need, which was linebacker. Patrick Queen at the end of the first round, a steal, especially when everyone thought that the Saints were going to get him. And this Malik Harrison pick out of Ohio State in the third round was
Pretty
definitely excellent value. And when I was watching something where it was like an NFL Live thing where they were interviewing Harbaugh, and he was like, yeah, like our first 2 days, like rounds 1, 2, and 3, we wanted these players, and by the grace of God, they just fell to our lap, and we didn't have to trade up to get them. We ended up just getting them where we wanted them.
They just got everyone they wanted.
Yeah, and the rich just keep getting richer.
Yeah, this is the case of the kings of this division just got stronger.
Yep.
Like
it'd be like that sometimes.
I think they definitely had the best draft in their division, and they were already the best team. So
yeah.
Not looking great for the other 3 teams.
We'll see you in the AFC Championship game, Baltimore.
Okay.
It's true. I think so. Anything else you want to talk about Baltimore? I did like your James Prochet shout out. Good, speedy receiver. Gonna turn some heads. Hopefully he ends up developing.
I think speed is a good factor. I would like Devin Duvernay and James Prochet are very speed slot guys, and I think that's gonna factor well in this offense.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is that I'm a little worried that there's no prototypical like X receiver, like big, tall, strong. You don't really have that in this offense. You do have a lot of tight ends that are used very steadily, and I would like to see James Prochet and Devin Duvernay get some like end arounds or jet sweeps. That'd be pretty
I think
cool.
so. I think what's going to happen with them is they're going to implement them the same way that they intended to use Hollywood Brown last year. But Hollywood Brown did struggle with some injuries and stuff, and so he wasn't able to kind of blossom the way he should have. So I'm hoping with Hollywood getting healthy this next year, the addition of Duvernay, the addition of Prochet, it's going to help them out a little bit. You know, I think they're definitely going the whole like we don't have that number one X receiver like you said. But damn, we are going to go ahead and give it a shot to just run by you. So it's a smart take. And I mean, when you have one of the best players in the league, you play to his strength. So it makes perfect sense. All right, you want to move on to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, Pittsburgh. They had a pretty low key draft.
Underwhelming, I think.
I mean, more than anything, this is what always happens. There's like several teams every year that don't have a first round pick because of trades or this, that, the other. Steelers are one of them, and then you kind of forget that they are a team that you have to factor into the draft because you mostly deal with the first round when you're doing mock drafts and things like that.
Right.
But I mean, it was pretty underwhelming. These are all good players. The Anthony McFarland pick out of Maryland is really good. I think because he's a speed back, and they don't really have that on them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got a kind of diverse run game. I'd question the Chase Claypool pick, wide receiver from Notre Dame, if it weren't for the fact that like. The Steelers always hit on wide receivers. Yeah,
they have a good eye for that.
Like
they have a good.
So he's probably going to be catching touchdowns again from Big Ben. But
well, I mean, I think here's where I think they should. I think they should have taken a quarterback in this draft. I don't think Mason Rudolph is the answer, and
neither do I.
Big Ben, I think he's made out of glass. So like. I think they need a viable backup. I think in the third round, I like the Alex Highsmith pick, the edge out of Charlotte. I saw him last year play, Conference USA guy. I liked him. I liked him a lot. But I think he definitely could have waited a little bit more, especially when you see that Anthony McFarland went 22 picks later. I think he could have been there in that early fourth round. But I think they should have gone after Eason or Fromm in this situation. Just because I think it would have been smart to groom the replacement, and we know this that quarterbacks they're hit or miss in the draft, and you missed on Mason Rudolph. Big Ben is not healthy. We might as well just go for it. You know, you might as well just roll the dice on that one. What do you got to lose in this point for me, at least?
Basically, no, I agree.
Yeah. But like you said, I like the Anthony McFarland pick. I cannot wait until week 7 or week 8 when Antoine Brooks Jr., the safety out of Maryland, replaces Minkah Fitzpatrick in the lineup. It's gonna be great.
Oh my god! Oh, you're just wow! That is a scalding take you have right there.
It's not a take. It's more or less like a bitterness towards
a shot,
Minkah.
A shot across the bow.
A shot at Minkah for talking that talk. He's gonna wish he wasn't traded in like 3 seasons.
Oh boy, you are feeling yourself today.
Oh yeah. You can't stop me. This is we won the offseason. I can't even stop me. We'll talk about my Fins later on in the episode.
Oh, we'll get there.
Let's head to Cleveland. All right, let's head to Cleveland where Can I get a round of applause for Cleveland?
Yeah, this was pretty good.
Smart draft. Smart draft.
This was a pretty good draft. They got the most important thing. They got a tackle. Jedrick Wills out of Alabama. That's very important. Safety Grant Delp at LSU. So if he can get healthy and remember how to tackle, it will be a good pick.
And good value too. 44 overall.
I mean, yeah, I can't argue with it in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
With what this player has shown he can be, I can't argue with it in the second round.
Right.
Jordan Elliott out of Missouri is pretty good. Harrison Bryant from FAU there.
A stud.
To the Browns.
A stud,
I know
ladies and
you're
gentlemen.
big on that. You're big on that.
Here's the thing. There was a point towards the end of the season when he was making the all best tight end in college football lists and stuff or whatever. The one that Kyle Pitts got snubbed from. Yeah. And had to throw that in there. And,
yeah, no, absolutely.
And Kiffin was a good sport. He really started to design the offense around him and have Chris Robinson, the quarterback, throw a lot of passes to Harrison Bryant. I think the last game of the season, I think in the bowl game, the whole fourth quarter was run on first down, throw to Harrison Bryant second and third down. That was the game plan. So he did get his numbers up, but he's a very fast, dynamic. He's a tough tight end. Not the best run blocker.
Yeah.
But for this Cleveland offense that has OBJ, Jarvis Landry, running back out of Georgia. Oh my gosh, I forgot.
Nick Chubb.
Pass catching Nick Chubb and Harrison Bryant. It's smart. Also, they just signed Austin Hooper, so he may end up being thrown. Well, he may end up being thrown on some 2 tight end sets. I like him that
Kevin
way.
Stefanski is the new head coach, and he was the offensive coordinator for Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. And they did a lot of that. Despite being a heavy I formation offense, they passed fairly balanced. They're pretty. They threw a lot to tight ends, and so
right.
I think actually I think this was good. Fit what they needed. I think Baker Mayfield's going to have, a better year.
I think so.
I think there was a lot of drama that surrounded this team last year,
and
I don't really necessarily feel like he does this year.
No, I think it's because Freddie Kitchens is gone. Freddie Kitchens was not capable of being a head football coach in the NFL. He was a glorified coordinator or positions coach who ended up getting a shot, and he fell on his face. He couldn't manage a team. That's the thing. As much of an X's and O's guy that he could be, he couldn't manage a team, and he couldn't be responsible and hold his players to be responsible. And as always, the buck stops at the top, and it definitely is. That Hard Knocks season with Hugh Jackson, I didn't think it could get worse, but oh my gosh, did it get worse management-wise. It's going to be nice to have, hopefully, their new head coach comes in with a more
stable presence.
They need discipline in that locker room in that city. So I think, but to be honest, I like every single pick they made in relations to value, positional need. Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 6th, great pick. He definitely has all the upside that the 5-star coming out of high school had. He's a hard worker. He's a Michigan man in that sense, where working hard and stuff. So I like every single pick for the Browns. I think the Browns did a really good job this offseason.
Yeah, not flashy, but good.
Exactly. Good.
Bengals. It's funny. I look at the Bengals draft,
and
I swear I thought they had more picks.
I thought they did too, but it turns out they just had their 7
for a team
picks.
with the number 1 overall pick. They look like a team that isn't actually in bad shape, but they are.
Yeah, but I know, but at the same time, any team that walks away with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins in the same draft had a good draft.
Oh no, yeah. And I think they drafted a bunch of linebackers. I think
smart 3 linebackers.
Smart, at least one of them is going to be good.
And I think it's going to be Akeem Davis-Gaither.
Yeah, he's good.
We talked about him a lot. He's out of App State. He was the anchor of that defense, and he looked really good, especially in the conference championship game. So, good for that.
Yeah, and getting Marcus Bailey in the 7th is really,
again, value.
Good. Very good value.
The draft is not just about who you pick, but it's where you pick those players.
See, yeah. So, I think for this division, the Ravens stayed on top. Obviously, I think the Browns. It's between the Browns and the Steelers for the 2nd slot. A lot of it having to do with, is Big Ben going to be healthy? Which
I don't think so.
Well, he's always missed games in a season for the last several seasons, but
right.
What's to what degree? Last season, his season was over. A couple of years ago, he just had to take a couple of games off. If he only has to take a couple of games off with their coaching, with their roster, I feel like they'll be the second best team. But if it's another last year situation with Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph,
that's my thing. They don't have a viable insurance plan. Like Big Ben hasn't taken care of himself. Hasn't been the most let me take care of my body athlete in the world, and it's starting to show. Like the things you do in your 20s, they show in your 30s. Like it's showing right now, and they don't have that backup plan. Mason Rudolph is not it. That's why I feel like they should have drafted Eason, but whatever. Yeah. Is what it is.
He is very Big Benny.
He is very Big Benny. That is the AFC North. Tyler, let's head south. Let's move to your
good old AFC South.
AFC South. Let's start with the Jags, Tyler. What are we? Right. And by we, what are you thinking?
My Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they didn't trade at all. They used every single pick that they had.
They did.
Which, you know what, I'm okay with. I really did think that they were gonna move up a couple spots in the second, third, and fourth to try and like get you'd still have a lot of picks, but like get some value. But I mean, I was okay with letting the draft. They said that they let the draft come to them,
right?
And I think I loved the day 1 and day 2.
Yep, day 1 and day 2.
I love C.J. Henderson. I love Caleb Von Chason. I love Laviska Shenault pick. I'm actually really happy about that if he can stay healthy, which, given the extended offseason we're getting, I'm actually getting kind of confident in that ability.
And remember, he missed the end of the college football season, so he's still by the time he gets on the field, it'll be like a year that he doesn't play.
And I really like the Devon Hamilton pick from Ohio State. I thought that was really good because we need that, and I thought he wasn't. At later day stuff, I heard Josiah Scott is really good for like a nickel, which we'll eventually need. Chad Quarterman's from Jacksonville, so that's cool.
And remember, if you remember correctly, when we were talking about that Gator game against Miami at the beginning of the season, we were talking about those 3 Miami linebackers and how much trouble they were going to give us. And Shaq Quarterman stood out. I distinctly remember, and you can go back and listen to the episodes where I told you and I said, Shaq Quarterman I would not mind having on my Miami Dolphins. So.
I think I think my favorite pick in day 3 was probably Colin Johnson because we don't really have a big bodied wide receiver. I mean, like we have DJ Chark is the standard like X coverage body type receiver, but Colin Johnson's even bigger. Like he's huge. So I'm happy with that. We have a little bit of diversity in our receiver room because that was my one thing. We don't really have a big guy. I mean, this is not a sexy draft for the Jags,
right?
And the Jaguars have a lot of holes, and they filled them. Some of them, most of them. No running back, which...
It was essentially the same mentality that the Ravens had, where it was, what is our biggest need? Who is the best player available at that given need? Let's plug and play. But when it doesn't always work out that you end up the best. Like, for example, you guys were talking about taking a running back, and we had that conversation throughout the weekend about taking a running back. You didn't take a running back. Yeah. So there's still some holes in there and still some things that probably would have changed.
And that's one of those things that I've seen some people online on the Twitter sphere say something along the lines to the Jags just replaced the players that they lost, and implying that it was like a bad strategy.
Yeah, right.
To which I come back to my mind is like, how is that not a good strategy? Like what's the alternative?
It's a phenomenal idea. Like isn't that what the draft is though? Replacing
that's the whole point. Like I didn't understand. I think a lot of it had to do with some people think that, and this is kind of a thing I think you're running with a lot of fan bases, is that some people look at their team and think whatever holes there might be, can be fixed with what's currently there. They just want to make certain things stronger. Like I think everyone in Jacksonville wants more offense.
Yeah,
and I agree. Like our offense hasn't been great the last couple of years. It was better last year when Gardner Minshew was in charge, but still not great. And we haven't had an good offense for several years. So they see us all taking defensive players and they get mad. But then I'm kind of like, look at everyone we lost on defense.
Yeah,
2 top edge rushers, your star defensive tackle, both of your top 2 corners, and one of your safeties, and a couple of linebackers. I know that offense has been the sore spot, but defense is about to become the bad spot.
Yeah,
if you let that fall out. So I think I think the draft did help the team.
And I think that's why you guys didn't trade or just let the draft come to you, because you got to fill numbers at some point.
And this
Not
team has
everyone's
a
going to
lot
get.
of
It's not
holes.
going to hit. Always going to hit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
hey, before we move on from the Jags quickly, because it's your Jags, I want to know your favorite draft pick and your least favorite draft pick.
Favorite draft pick? Honestly, just the more I think about it, it's the Devon Hamilton pick from Ohio State. Like, I just got a really good feeling about it. I've liked what I've seen. We really did need a defensive tackle.
Yeah.
And I was afraid that they weren't going to address it until, like, late. But getting him in the third, I felt really good about.
It was a great way to end day 2.
Yeah. That's my favorite one. I mean, my least favorite one is Jake Luton from Oregon State. Not because I don't like the guy. I just, like... And I talked about this last week, but the existence of Gardner Minshew itself justifies that you should be drafting a late-round quarterback every year, because by some semblance you might hit on one.
Right.
And these 6th and 7th round picks aren't probably going to make your team anyway. That being said, again, I was kind of like, it was your third to last pick, not your last pick, and I would have... Like, when they drafted Tanner Lee out of Nebraska with their last pick, I was like, first of all, that's a terrible pick. It obviously was a terrible pick. But it was the last pick of the draft, their last pick of the draft in the 7th round. So I was like, okay, I can accept that. But I would have rather tried to fill a different hole, but I understand, because you drafted another quarterback, though, so now there's 3 quarterbacks on the roster. I really don't think we're going to be signing another one.
Yeah.
But I hope.
Maybe that's what kind of... They did it to take themselves out of the... Now we're calling it the Andy Dalton, Cam Newton race, but like that kind of free agency market in that sense.
Pause.
So.
Andy Dalton and Cam Newton are
free agents.
In a race.
Yeah, quote-unquote race.
Quote-unquote race. Here's the thing. If Cam Newton didn't have, like, health concerns, I think we all know where everyone would be going here. Like...
Listen, Jameis Winston has thrown more passes to the Saints players in his career than Taysom Hill has. So let's just put a button on that backup quarterback discussion. Let's head up to Nashville. Talk about your hated Tennessee Titans. Tyler, let me just say, I think they had a short and sweet draft.
Yeah.
That's how I put it.
It's interesting to me because I don't think that they addressed some of their needs, but I would argue some of them they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't draft a single wide receiver.
Very true.
In a really deep wide receiver class, and I know that they're a predominantly run heavy team, and AJ Brown had a phenomenal year for them last year, and that's great. But I like, you just shelled out the Bortles money for Ryan Tannehill. Give him another weapon, please.
I mean, that would be the idea, but
speaking if I was a Titan,
right? But I think what happens there is that they saw what worked last year with Derrick Henry, and I guess it's. I hate to bring it up, but it's the Jags from 2017 where they think you're right on this, man. You are down to the blueprint. Like, every single thing that they have done has mirrored what happened in that 2017 after the 2017 year for you guys. And the draft, being overly confident in what quote unquote already worked, seems to be what's going on.
I just don't think that I look at them as a team that got really hot. And that's a lot of what playoff football is.
Yep.
So, like, I don't take that away from them. Like, they got really hot, and that's what my team did, and we almost made it to the Super Bowl.
I mean, they were 8-8.
Some teams get
won
really
the last
hot
two
and
games
win a
of the
Super
season.
Bowl.
Right.
Yeah. And so, like, I get it, but they drafted a running back. They drafted Isaiah Wilson in the first round, which was a little bit of a reach for Isaiah Wilson.
I agree. I think it was a reach, but
they
I think
needed
they were
a tackle. But
that's what they were going. So, once Miami picked Austin Jackson out of USC at 18, all bets were off for offensive linemen.
Yeah, I mean, I think Christian Fulton in the second and is good.
Good
He's
value.
A good pick. Good value pick. Darrington Evans from App State, solid running back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I mean, any running back you choose in the Titans is gonna be the second, maybe third. So
yeah.
And then I don't know. Obviously, our son Cole McDonald.
I was gonna say, how do you feel that this is kind of like if our kids went to Florida State?
I support them no matter what. But Lord knows I ain't rooting for that football team. So this reminds me. This takes me back real quick to when my sister went to UC. My sister goes to UCF.
Right.
Both of my sisters go to UCF. Sorry, I have 3 sisters. 2 of them go to UCF. One is 9. One is 9. So
I was gonna say, Tyler, is there something I should know about there? I mean, she's really smart, but I didn't know where that. It was,
no, the other
yeah.
she's 9.
Okay.
But they both, and when Aaliyah, the oldest amongst the 2 that go to UCF, went there, she at one point was remarking, I think, because I was kind of making a joke at one point when we were both home about UCF football in relation to Florida football.
Mm-hmm.
And she was joking with my parents. It's just like, well, it's kind of like, why can't you just root for my school? And I was like, I mean, I get it, and I do root for UCF, but I was just like, but if you went to Florida State, I was like, I support your decision, but I went to my school, and I'm gonna root for my team. You don't get to come along and change, especially when my parents both went to Florida 20 plus years ago.
Right.
You don't just get to come along and change everything.
Yeah,
but
this is my identity.
Yeah, no, but I mean that's just a basically kind of the situation.
I have a similar thing.
He's probably gonna. I mean, again, Cody Kessler started a year after they gave Bortles the Bortles money, so
who knows?
Cole McDonald is better than Cody Kessler, so
agreed on that one. Hey, look, last thing before, I'm in a similar situation with my girlfriend Alexa, who is a UCF alumnus, and she all the time says Florida should play UCF, and I was like, you don't want to see that, and she's like, yeah, I do. I was like, no, absent, take away all of the stuff on the football field, this relationship will have a serious strain on itself regardless of the outcome of the football game, so we're not doing this. I'm like,
that's what I feel about with my sisters, because my sisters aren't football nerds like me, but they
we
care.
are a rare breed, Tyler. We are
I
a rare breed.
I know, but they if we all sat down and watched a game of UCF versus Florida, thing is, I know me and my parents would just be going off at them. Easy. And they wouldn't, and be like, "Why are you being so mean?" It was just you're the enemy right now. I love if you don't want to. This is not. Yeah. I mean, I have friends who go to Florida State, but when we're playing,
all gloves are off. The gloves are off.
I'm breaking that spear.
I'm glad we have that similar thing there, though. All right, so Titans draft.
They didn't screw it up, which makes me upset.
They didn't screw it up.
They didn't knock it out of the park. So
it was a comfortable, safe single.
They doubled down on what they were going for. Which,
exactly.
If the overall philosophy is a mistake, to be determined.
Right.
I think it is, but
it's got some 07. It's got some 2017 Jags looking at it.
They're sticking to it. So.
All right, let's head further south. Let's go down to Houston. Let's go to H-Town, where how do I put this analogy? Bill O'Brien is if you just were watching an 80s movie and it was a banker that just constantly did cocaine and then showed up to the party. That's Bill O'Brien as the GM. He's like, I'm sorry, whoa. You want a first rounder? I got you. Okay, here's the first round. Oh wait, no. You want DeAndre Hopkins? Give it to me. You know what I want? I want your busted 32-year-old messed up knees running back. Yeah, give me that. And it resulted in this draft because the players that he took. The players that he took.
This draft is terrible.
It's pretty bad. And listen, we love our boy Jonathan Grenard. 1 year as a Gator, I think he is definitely a Gator great. He completely embraced the Gator standard. He was an example on and off the field, and he will forever have a place in the heart of every sane Gator fan out there. He might be the bright spot of the draft, and no disrespect to him, but that's not good because there were some much better players, A, at his position, and B, overall. The Charlie Heck pick out of UNC, that offensive line, while Sam Howell, future Minnesota Vikings quarterback Sam Howell, while he had a great rookie freshman season, he got sacked pretty often. There wasn't much of a protection.
They're not great.
No, there's still an improvement that Mac Brown has to make there
on an already terrible offensive line.
Exactly, and so that was a stretch in the fourth round. Their second round pick, Ross Bladlock, good player.
Yeah.
Big player in the interior defensive line. I understand that they wanted that, and that was a position of need. But I think when you have your pick 40, I think when you lose DeAndre Hopkins, it is a necessity to go out and get the best wide receiver that you can in an especially deep wide receiver class. They ended up going and getting a wide receiver in the 7th round out of Rhode Island, Tyler.
Yeah, no, I don't understand. This is a historically deep receiver class. You lose DeAndre Hopkins, willingly, by the way. And the only wide receiver you draft is in the 5th round, your last pick. His name is Isaiah Coulter from Rhode Island, like you just said.
Yep.
Who? Hoomst?
Who?
Hoof?
Whom?
I've never heard of this man. And I'm a college football junkie.
Here's my thing, Tyler. If you're going to make a mess, you better be ready to clean it up. He made a mess by trading DeAndre Hopkins, and he left it out there, and there is currently mold on the mess that he is making. He didn't clean it up at all. It is downright disrespectful. It's a liability. Sideline judgment, we should sue. We should sue, Tyler.
We should do it.
For the mistreatment and the injustice that is Bill O'Brien handling the Houston, Texas.
Do you know who's still on the board at this point? From
At pick 40?
Perspective?
At pick 40?
No, at pick 171, you know who, from the wide receiver perspective, is still on the board?
Who, Tyler?
We have got Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Mm-hmm. Which we've said, good pick.
Good pick. You know, James Prochet.
Mm-hmm. We like.
Yeah, we like it a lot. Let me see. Let me just, double check here. Desmond Patman, who's from Washington State. He's pretty
he was good. I liked him.
There was one more that's just absolutely free. Oh yeah, Isaiah Hodgins from Oregon State was still on the board.
What?
They drafted. I conspiracy theory. They accidentally wrote down the wrong Isaiah.
Honestly, with Bill O'Brien,
has to be the only.
With
example.
I get it. Makes sense.
Freaking KJ Hill is still on the board here.
Bro, oh my god.
Fire this man.
This man is incompetent.
Oh, except wait, no, your general manager can't fire him because he is the general manager.
Oh man, it's gonna be.
I want just trade Deshaun. Free my man.
Before the draft, I was gonna say, hey, we'll give you the 26th overall pick for Deshaun. He would have done it.
Done that.
He would have done it.
No, I would have given. I would have given two first-round picks for Deshaun. Which people might be like, that's not good value. I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's absolutely great value. He's got 2 years. He's got 2 years left on his rookie deal.
You erase the quarterback needed. You'd still have a first-round pick for tackle.
Get out of here. Get out. Of here.
You know what should have happened? They should have traded you Deshaun Watson when you traded them Larry Tunsil. Knowing them, they would have done it.
You mean to tell me that he wanted to trade for Laramie Tunsil to protect his quarterback, and in the trade, he gave up his quarterback?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
We should move on.
Let's go to the Colts. I
hate how much I like this draft.
I was gonna say, man, round of applause for the Colts.
They did a really good job.
Michael Pittman Jr. round 2. This is another team.
I wanted him so bad.
Yeah, I know.
I wanted him so bad.
They get Jonathan Taylor at pick 41. A good pick.
Yeah. And I mentioned last episode that I wasn't sure how the fit was gonna work. I've heard some stuff of where, and they have Phillip Rivers, who historically likes to throw to running backs, but they are going to be implementing some more downhill stuff into the offense.
They're going to have to with him.
Yeah, I mean Marlon Mack can still catch the ball out of the backfield, so he's kind of going to be the Austin Eckler.
Yeah,
to
and
Jonathan
I haven't
Taylor's Melvin Gordon.
And that's the thing, I've been seeing people say oh, Marlon Mack's going to get traded. And it's like, no, I think this is going to work really well with, like you said, Marlon Mack catching the ball out of the backfield, and then Jonathan Taylor just running down.
Everyone's in running back by committee at this point.
I mean, it makes sense.
That's just the way the NFL works now.
And the second round is the new first round for running backs.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. I'm not going to... We saw it with Gurley, and we've seen it with tons of running backs. I'm not going to pay this high premium for a position that... I mean, the Chiefs showed it. You can win with
They won
anyone.
I talked about this the other episode. The Chiefs and the 49ers got to the Super Bowl signing running backs off the street.
Yeah, it's that simple.
It's more important to have a good offensive line. And I mean, there's elite talent. I'm not saying that Jonathan Taylor is the same as random running back from Reichwell Armstead on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right.
Like, these are not the same quality of player.
Yeah. No,
but the drop off comparatively to other positions is different. Mm-hmm. But I think that as a team that needed skill position, it was good.
Right.
Jonathan Taylor certainly was not going to be there in the third round, so
so you might as well take him there. But they end up getting great value with their third round pick with Julian Blackmon, addressing a secondary need. Really good pick. We saw that he was a stud out there in Utah, and then they start off day 3 really well. They end up taking Jacob Eason, and I think this is a great idea. They end up putting him behind Phil Rivers for this 1 year that he's going to be there. I highly doubt Rivers signs a year after that. Nah. He sits for 1 year, and then you still get 3 years of Eason's rookie contract. And if he can fix those mistakes that he had at Washington, he can definitely be the person. I think it's a great fit for him.
I mean, Frank Reich is one of the architects of the Eagles' Super Bowl run. He was a quarterback's coach, and he's kind of shown in his coaching career that he could do a lot to help quarterbacks. So I think that's part of the reason that Philip Rivers signed there. And I do think I like that they picked Eason up. Like, good value. You're not on a 3-year deal with Philip Rivers where you're like, okay, by that point, you've got, 1 year left on Eason's deal to evaluate him.
Right.
But no, this situation serves them. So I think it was a good pick.
Yeah, and there's a lot of upside with Eason. So we'll see how it goes there. Last pick for them here. I like the Jordan Glasgow pick in the 6th round, linebacker out of Michigan. He was very, very good for them. Down the stretch, remember when we talked about how they ended up fixing their defensive problems? I think it was at halftime of the Penn State game. That second half going to the end of the year is where the defense really started clicking, and Jordan Glasgow was a big part of that. He ended up kind of taking that leadership role on that defense. Did a really good job there. So I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move to the division I call home.
You're home.
East. I know. Let's talk about the Pats first, though, because I think they are the
Get it out of the way, buddy.
Get them out of the way. It's not going to be much. This is Bill Belichick's I'm not leaving Wolf of Wall Street moment. Like, this is him saying, I don't need Thomas.
I don't need to draft a quarterback.
At all. No, and the best part was that he was, after the draft, they asked him, and he was like, yeah, we didn't really go into it with a plan. They essentially said that they let the draft come to them, which is interesting because they traded out of the first round, then they traded up a few times. They ended up really, a lot of their action was, half of their picks were on day 2, where they had 2 second-rounders and 3 third-rounders.
2 tight ends back-to-back.
2 tight ends back-to-back. They traded up for both of those tight ends. Neither of them were Harrison Bryant, so screw you. The Kyle Duggar pick did take us all by surprise, especially at pick 37. But, Belichick's proven that, if there was any organization for a Division II player to go in the 2nd round to succeed, it's the New England Patriots.
This makes a lot of sense, and he's. Yeah. I mean, I do kind of have to sit here and just kind of when Bill Belichick drafts a defensive player, I'm just like, you know what, whatever. Like, he's probably right.
Which he then turns it around and takes Josh Uche out of Michigan. Great pick. He takes Anfernee Jennings out of Alabama. Another great pick. Like, he really hit the nail on the head with them with these defensive picks.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
Do we have to bring up the alt-right white supremacist kicker?
Well, you already did. So, I mean, they drafted Justin. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this last name. Rohrwasser. He is kicker from Marshall. Mm-hmm. He does have a 3%ers tattoo on his body that is, a symbol of the white
known white supremacist alt-right group.
I did read the article about it. He said that the reason that he got it was that he came up from a family where he was taught that kind of saying meant, more about support for military and stuff.
That's a very snitch on my family excuse.
That was my background, and I don't really believe. And he's like, he said he's going to cover it up for games, which take all of that with what you will.
Yeah.
Certainly not the kicker I would have seen them drafting.
And here's their I get it, and yes, none of this white supremacist stuff at all.
But no, we do not condone that at all.
Do you think it's just taken away from the fact that the Patriots drafted a kicker in the 5th round? Like,
Maybe that's why they did
what are
it.
you doing, Bill?
No one's talking about where they took the kicker. It's just the kicker that they took.
I really think
fifth?
this is where Bill Belichick's dog hit auto draft by accident. It was like, oh no. Yeah, that's what happened.
Maybe he can. Maybe Rohrwasser sounds like something a dog could bark. That sounds like something that Scooby Doo could say.
His laptop was on voice command.
Oh God! All right.
I don't want to talk more about the Patriots. Let's go to Miami.
Let's move
All
on.
right. Welcome to Miami.
You boys.
I thoroughly enjoyed this draft. I love the majority of these picks. Even the picks that I wanted someone else in that spot, but the player we ended up settling on, I like. So, for example, second round, pick 56, Raekwon Davis out of Alabama. He's a big boy who had a phenomenal freshman year and then kind of tailored off his sophomore, junior year, but the potential is definitely there. Pick 55 right before him was J.K. Dobbins. Now, I'm convinced that we would have taken J.K. Dobbins if he was at 56.
Yeah.
But I think Flores and Greer made the best out of the situation, and we got a player that we can move around, pretty versatile, can play nose tackle, can play in the gaps in the AB gap. He's going to be a big boy there, and clearly the theme of this draft was secure the Tua and secure the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. So
that was definitely
the
the emphasis.
Yeah, for sure. So
and you guys went full Patriots in round 7.
We did. I know. We got a long. We went in round 7. We picked up Malcolm Perry. I was very excited for Malcolm Perry.
Yeah,
I like Malcolm Perry a lot.
You went full option quarterback turned wide receiver Patriots. Julian Edelman who?
It's gonna work. I'm here for it. It's gonna work.
No, I really like the Malcolm Perry pick. I think it's really good.
I think it's a great pick in the 7th as well. 6th round spent on a center, on a long snapper. Okay, sure, but at this point we had so much draft capital. We actually
in this house we rejoice when long snappers get drafted. We do
rejoice long snappers, of course. Specialist for the brand. I did like that we had another 7th rounder that we flipped for a 6th round pick next year. That was a nice bit of business at the end.
That's pretty slick by you guys.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. My favorite picks, though, if I'm going to be on, I'm going to do the same thing I did with you, or my favorite, my least favorite. I think my favorite picks, Tua is in a whole nother stratosphere, so we're not even counting
That's disqualified.
Yeah, it's disqualified, obviously. Do nothing. We talked about Tua. I don't need to talk
You're
about
getting a Tua jersey, like...
I'm waiting for them to release the number. By the way, did you see CeeDee Lamb is wearing number 88 for the Cowboys?
Yeah.
So...
Des Bryant went off on Twitter and he said he was okay with it. Like,
oh, okay, good.
He was like, be great.
Hey, Miami, release Tua's number. So that's it. That's all on that point. My favorite players, it's a tie. It's a two-way tie between safety Brandon Jones out of Texas in the 3rd round and edge rusher Curtis Weaver in the 5th round out of Boise State. So Curtis Weaver was a monster on the edge for Boise State. His combine and his physical stuff, there were some medical problems there, and that's why he was dropping. They said he could have been a 3rd rounder if not. So I like him at the 5th, so hopefully he ends up developing there. And Brandon Jones, he actually didn't play and couldn't participate in the end of the season and couldn't participate in the combine stuff. He was dealing from a torn labrum. But this man, when you go back and look it up, he requested film from every single team so he can study their systems so that he can then kind of make a self-analysis on how he would fit into their defenses. That is a kind of guy that I want. I then went back and I looked at his tape, and that man is an animal in open field tackles. I absolutely love this pick in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Great pick. I think I'm most excited for Brandon Jones. I'm really pumped for it. I'm really, 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 really excited for this pick.
It's going to be what Minka wasn't.
Yeah, that's the thing. We take a player that he could probably... The reason that Minka was just a little poop face and decided to force himself out was because he didn't want to play multiple positions. He was like, I want to learn one position and play it. Brandon Jones is the opposite. He's like, what do you need from me? I got you. It's the same thing that we talked about with the Jags, with off the air with friend of the pod, Michael Phillips, where the 3 of us were having that conversation about the Jags' primary motive in the draft was to pick ball players that weren't distractions off the field. Just wanted to play football. And I feel like that's the same thing that Flores did and Greer did with this Brandon Jones pick. Getting absolutely. A guy that the problem with Minka wasn't his talent. He was phenomenal. The fact that he didn't want to apply himself to maximize his talent. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and grab Brandon Jones, who may not be as talented as Minka, but will work enough to be able to put him in different situations. So I'm really excited for this pick. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What's a pick that you're kind of on?
Pick I'm kind of on. It's got to be Solomon Kidley, the interior offensive lineman out of Georgia in the 4th round. And again, I like the pick for the value. My issue is we watched a lot of Georgia.
Yeah.
The Georgia offensive line was good, wasn't great. And definitely the stud of that offensive line was, I forgot his name, he went 4th overall to the Giants. Andrew Thomas. He was definitely the stud. Is this a case of Solomon Kidley not having as much hype because he was playing next to Andrew Thomas? Or is this a case of, he just isn't as good?
He's just a guard that went to Georgia.
Exactly. And so it's the pick that I'm most... It's the pick I'm most hesitant to. This is overall a phenomenal draft. I loved this draft.
This was a really good draft.
Loved it. Addressed a lot of holes. So that's the pick that I have the most reservations about. I wouldn't say I don't like it. Just I have the most reservations about it. So.
All right. Well, let's talk about. We both gushed about our teams.
Yes, we have.
Let's talk about the other two teams in your division. Let's start with the Jets, who you also hate.
The Jets drafted a lot of Gator players. I hate the Jets. Let's move on. No, I'm playing. The Jets had a pretty good draft, I won't lie. Mekhi Becton at 11, good pick. Denzel Mims replaces that wide receiver need that they had, good pick. And I mean, I'm biased. Jabari and LaMichael Pirine,
I really like the LaMichael Pirine pick.
Mm-hmm.
I think it fits in really well behind Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Don't understand the James Morgan pick, but I guess they needed a backup.
Oh, here's the thing: they have a overhyped starting quarterback. I think they needed an overhyped backup so that they.
That's why they got him in the 4th round.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why they were like Jake Fromm. Nah, not gonna go that route. Which it was nice to see Jake Fromm slide a little bit as a Gator. You know what I mean? So.
Speaking of, let's go to the Bills.
Well, hold on, wait. Before we go on,
okay.
I like the Jets pick of Bryce Hall out of Virginia.
That was a really good pick.
Like the pick a lot. Really good pick. 5th round. Like the pick a lot.
Yeah. So. I think that, we'll talk about the Bills and then we'll kind of talk about the division as a whole. Because we didn't really talk about the AFC South as a whole. I actually think that the Colts should be the favorite going into the season.
Mm-hmm.
Then it really depends on if the Titans sputter out or if the Texans, Deshaun Watson is super Superman or just animated Superman. And the Jags, I think, are the worst team. But
yeah. I think so as well, but I think at this point it's essentially the Colts division to lose, and that's us in the belief of the Titans are at the peak,
I think that,
and they will steeply drop off.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, let's talk about the Bills.
Damn it! I hate how good this draft is. Oh my god!
They got some good guys. They got some good players.
I was listening to Locked On Dolphins with Kyle Krabs, who is a big Dolphin fan, head senior scouting for the Draft Network. We love him. Great listen. Mm-hmm. And he was saying how mad he was about the Bills draft as well, especially because the Dolphins, we drafted Austin Jackson in the 1st round to be that tackle, and he went to USC, and the one game, his worst game in college, was against Iowa, where AJ Epineza had 3 sacks against him. And that is just so concerning to me, dude, because
the Bills draft AJ Epineza in round 2. They saw your move for I bet.
It's like they took my draft notes and were like, "Got you."
How can we counter every single part of this,
bro? No. So they got a phenomenal edge rusher that's going to give the Dolphins some trouble, guaranteed. It's going to give some trouble. Mm. They got Zach Moss, who is a phenomenal running back. Power, but can also catch out of the backfield, is going to work really well paired up with the inferior Josh Allen. Not that Josh Allen is bad. We've had this conversation. We just like the one with Jax more.
Yeah. We don't need to go over
They got a speed slot receiver in Gabriel Davis.
Yeah.
That boy can play. Speaking of UCF, Gabriel Davis, whenever I was watching UCF games with Alexa, that boy was flying. They end up getting Jake Fromm, which we'll talk about in a second. This is one of these things just doesn't belong, and it's Jake Fromm. And they drafted a kicker in the 6th round. Cool, whatever. 6th round, Isaiah Hodgkins.
I was heated. I wanted Isaiah Hodgkins really freaking bad.
And now he's in my division.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Another phenomenal good wide receiver in a deep class.
Well, you got one thing going for you, is that Josh Allen has a little bit of a trouble with the accuracy thing. So
he does. And
these wide receiver picks may not matter.
Yeah. Well, Flores' scheme is going to help us out. But
that being said,
still,
Sean McDermott is a really good coach, in my opinion.
Yes, he is.
So.
And I'll say it right now. Let's talk big picture AFC East. The Bills are winning this division next year.
I think the Bills are winning the division. Their only competition this year is if Bill Belichick just flexes the hell out of his coaching muscles.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's still obviously the best coach in the division.
I think
it's just I'm more than I don't even know how to factor the Patriots into these equations, because
I think we have to wait to get a complete overview of the AFC East. We have to wait to see if either Dalton or Cam are signed.
That
to the
changes
Pats.
Things.
If it's Cam, oh boy, it's going to be hard to pick against the Pats. If it's Dalton, it's going to be a competition. But I see the Bills. I can see the Pats as a wild card team.
I think the Bills are the best roster.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
If things stand as they are, I think that the Bills will win the division. Pats second, and then probably Jets third for the moment, because Adam Gase usually doesn't bottom out.
Yeah.
Usually.
It honestly, and I'm not being that guy. It depends on if Tua plays this year. It depends when he plays. I'm not saying that we're gonna fight for a playoff spot. No, it's fine.
But not this early.
If we can go to 6 to 8 wins and third in the division, I think that's a phenomenal year. And I think I realistically see Tua playing in November, mid to late November, so around week 10 to 12. I can see it happening. So that's what depends on the Finns and the Jets, but definitely Bills and Pats are the front runners for this division for sure. For sure.
Well,
also,
let's move on.
Jake Fromm doesn't fit. We had this conversation already.
That was the big thing.
Jake Fromm doesn't fit here.
Bad fits all around.
All right.
Let's go to the last division, the AFC West.
Yes,
home of
sir.
The Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, but we will not talk about them just yet. We're going to start with the Raiders.
Let's have some fun with the Raiders first.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun. Sneaky, my favorite draft.
This is a college football nerd's favorite draft.
Tie me off. Hand me the needle. I'm
Henry
ready.
Ruggs, Gavin Arnett, Lynn Bowden Jr., Ryan Edwards.
The People's Heisman, Lynn Bowden Jr.
Also,
Let's go.
if I could have handpicked a team to draft Tanner Muse from Clemson, this would have been the team. He's a Clemson player. He's also a white safety, so...
before he's a Clemson player, he's a white DB.
Yeah. Hey, I have to read it when we think about the 2021 draft going forward, that Justin Fields did lose a playoff game throwing a pick to a white DB, so we just got
a game sealing pick.
Yeah, I mean, so we just gotta factor that into the equation. Anyway,
could never be QB1 in my eyes.
Never. You can't throw picks to white DBs if you don't face any white. If your team has all the white DBs.
Chess, not checkers.
Dabo Swinney knows. He knows how to build a championship football team.
He does.
Anyway, look what the Raiders have done to us.
Oh my gosh.
They picked Tanner Muse, and this is what they've done to us.
You know what the sad part is?
What?
I can't decide which is my favorite. No, I can't. But let me just say, Tanner Muse competed with Lynn Bowden Jr. for my favorite pick for the Raiders, simply because of the fact that he was the white DB who picked off.
I think that was actually Nolan Turner, but
was it Nolan Turner? I thought it was Tanner Muse.
They had a.
Forgive me for being confused.
Oh yeah. They had a trio of safeties: Kayvon Wallace, who went to the Eagles, and then a duo of white DBs: Nolan Turner and Tanner Muse, and they went to the national championship game with that.
I'm mad at myself for thinking about this in April after the season is over, but we should have called them the club sandwich. We should have called them the club sandwich.
The reverse Oreo.
No, not even that. Just club sandwich. Just
Club sandwich.
mayo everywhere. A good, delicious sandwich. Just, you know.
Okay. I mean, the best pick, I think, is the most... Okay. It's a tie between... I like all of these picks. Jeez. It's Lindbone Jr. for being the People's Heisman, but like...
Facts. Sideline judgment favorite, of course. But I think it's tough because I want to pick between Henry Ruggs, who is going to be a stud slot wide receiver, not an X receiver, but definitely going to be fast slot, phenomenal 40.
Explosive.
I love the Bryan Edwards pick.
Me too.
I love this pick. This is yet another talented wide receiver that withered away in a must-champ offense.
You know who gets to play with all these toys? Derek Carr.
It'll be Fields next year. Don't worry.
Oh, there it is.
There's the take.
Yeah. I think. I mean, this is a college football nerds draft, but
it's fun.
I like it. It's fun, and I think that this. Maybe it's not the best, but I like all of these players. Like,
yeah, me too.
I can't.
Damon Arnett was good. A stretch at 19. Let me say that. Like, talk about reaching for a pick.
Agree with that.
That was a reach, but then again,
quarterback value and like
whatever, all that.
They were
stuff.
flying off the board at that point.
I do really think that the Raiders make their draft analysis based on the bowl season.
Dude, absolutely. Like,
I think it's actually true.
They drafted 4 players from the playoff.
Mm-hmm. 4 players from the playoff. They drafted Amik Robinson in the 4th round, cornerback out of Louisiana Tech, who shut
out Miami.
Who shut out Miami, exactly.
Never forget.
They took Bryan Edwards, who was constantly talked about as having high upside but being misused, and then they took the most dynamic college football player of the year last season.
Belk Bowl MVP.
The honest Belk Bowl MVP, which actually I don't know if you know this. I know you know this, Tyler, but listeners, it's actually more important than the Heisman. Like and actually it's the last ever Belk Bowl MVP. RIP Belk Bowl. Moment of silence. Thank you very much. But yeah, it's gonna be a fun team. It's gonna be a fun team to watch.
Yeah. All right. The Broncos. They had a really good draft.
Drew Lock was doing front flips this weekend. They went out and got my boy.
He was rapping
Jeezy. They got my boy weapons. They got Jerry Jeudy, arguably the best wide receiver in this class. They got KJ Hamler, a 5'9", blazing speed wide receiver out of Penn State. Freak. They went out. They got his boy Albert Oak. They got his tight end, bro. They got his tight end.
That's the one that probably pushed it over the edge, where he was just like, yes.
It was incredible. And then in the 7th round, they get great value. They get Tyree Cleveland, which Go Gators. We love our boy.
Go Gators.
Great locker room guy.
He delivers in the big moments. He has 2 of, like, I believe probably the craziest touchdowns I've ever seen.
Go ask Tennessee how they feel about Tyree Cleveland.
Yeah. No, it's.
There you go.
I think that they really, the Broncos did the smart thing in this draft, where they really, I said, we think we found our guy. We are gonna make life as easy as possible for him.
Yep.
Smart. It honestly, and they've got different. Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler and Tyree Cleveland are all slightly different styles of receiver. Like they all. It's one of the things that I don't like the teams do sometimes, is they all draft the same type of receiver.
Right.
And I'm like, you need some flexibility. Jerry Jeudy's the route running X receiver. KJ Hamler is the speed slot guy. Tyree Cleveland can just get you downfield. Mm-hmm. And I think Alberto, I love that pick. I love the Alberto pick.
It's got to be the best pick for them.
I think so.
Our favorite pick, at least.
I think it just makes sense for Drew Lock.
Yeah, good on the Broncos.
Yeah.
L.A. Chargers. They end up taking Justin Herbert, and they trade into the 1st round again to take Kenneth Murray. I like the Joshua Kelly running back pick in the 4th.
Me too.
Again, great value. KJ Hill in the 7th. Okay, cool. Joe Reed out of Virginia in the 5th. Okay, cool.
Good kick returner.
Alohi Gilman, Notre Dame safety. When they ran his highlight package, I remembered him. But in the moment, I was like, I'm sorry, who is this? And then they showed his clips, and I was like, oh, yeah, he's the one that had 2 interceptions in the Louisville game. He's like, that was him.
Here's the weird thing about this draft. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of the players, But I don't really have a problem with any of the picks that they had. I think they were all like good players that they drafted that will help their team.
They also have a good team to begin with.
Yeah, but I do question if this was the right strategy for them.
Yeah.
Like, I do say, I can't just say what I said about the Drew Lock thing and not think the same thing with Justin Herbert. They drafted Justin Herbert, then got him a bunch of weapons on a team that already has good wide receivers.
But was that the right thing to do?
I don't know, because I think that
they didn't take a single player who plays on the line of scrimmage.
I think addressing the line of scrimmage would have been a smarter choice.
Yeah.
But then again, look at their division. Look at the teams in their division. Which one of these teams has a good defensive line? The Broncos, maybe.
Yeah.
They got Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, but
that's true.
Even with those two, they kind of struggled to get sacks last year.
But that's the problem.
You got to be able to outscore people in this league, in their division.
And that's true, but at the same time, what good is getting out of your division and into the playoffs through the additional wild card spot this year, if when you go up against, let's say in 2 years, right? The Dolphins end up seeing the Dolphins in the wild card round, right? We're going to have a mammoth defensive line at that point. You know what I mean? Like, what good is it if you're going to get eliminated in the first or second round of the playoffs?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that it would have been smarter to go trenches.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Which is, again, it's the weird thing about their particular draft. But
yeah, and that's the thing where I like Kenneth Murray, I like Joshua Kelly. You know, we both feel the same way about Herbert. But I think if you're going to trade into the first round, I mean, I like Kenneth Murray, but
get a line player.
Well, Patrick Queen was on the board. He wasn't even the best player available at that position.
Yeah, so I do think Patrick Queen is better. So
yeah, so that's how I feel about the Chargers. I hope it works out for them. Them uniforms, chef's kiss.
Justin Herbert has the best uniform look out of anyone I've ever seen. Like,
yeah, his stylist must be doing backflips. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
The Super Bowl champs.
The Chiefs could have only. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, after you. After you. Good
Before we do anything, I gotta say, we spoke it into existence.
We did.
Dustin Colquitt retired.
We did.
After we hit record last episode, after we hit publish.
Yes.
Tommy Townsend is now your punter for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going back to the Super Bowl.
It's confirmed. We don't even have to play the season. Give him the title.
It's pointless.
Just give him the title.
They said, Patrick Mahomes, you're pretty good, but we're going to put God next to you.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes, if for any chance you don't score, which I know will be a very rare occasion, we have Jesus Christ himself behind us, so we're good. We got you.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah, it's going to be fine.
Beyond that, another story. Did you hear? So the Kansas City Chiefs picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first.
I do remember.
So I watched the video of when Clyde Edwards-Helaire got the call, and Brett Veach, the general manager, and then Andy Reid both said, it's like, we texted Pat Mahomes earlier today, and we said, give me one name, like, for a running back, like, just, and don't even think about it. And he just said Clyde. Pat Mahomes hand-selected Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be in that offense. That alone makes it a great pick.
They could have picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 32 overall and not picked any other player in this draft, and it would have gotten an A+ for me.
Yeah.
So
and then what do? They draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They do draft Lucas Niang from TCU in the third.
Good
pick. But beyond that, they go all defense, which is, if they had one weakness, that would be it.
Smart thing to do.
And it's not even that huge for them. Like,
you got the best quarterback in the league right now on your roster.
Yeah.
You just added one of the best pass-catching running backs that I've seen in my 5-6 years watching college football seriously. Like, it makes perfect sense. God, I am so glad I spoke that into existence. Let's go, Clyde. Come on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Flex your prediction muscles.
Come on, let's do this. Great draft by the Chiefs. They're gonna.
Yeah. They're at the top of their division again.
Yep. Yes, they are. All right, Tyler. That was all the AFC teams.
We did it.
We did it, my friend. We did it. You want
to
wrap?
Good drafts. It's actually funny. The mind-boggling drafts didn't really happen in the AFC.
No, we are gonna have some stuff to talk about.
That. We have some stuff to talk about next week.
Oh yes, we do, Tyler. Next week we'll be talking about all of the NFC teams. We will go in on the Eagles. We will go in on the Packers. It'll be a time. You're gonna want to listen to this episode next week. Tyler, let's end this the only way that we know how. with tweets that we have shared. Tyler,
all right.
We've taken like a 3-week hiatus from tweets we've shared. Tyler, what's your favorite tweet that I have shared with you?
You sent me a tweet by William Norris that says, because this follows the, which is very fun, like the moment the draft ended, the Draft Network had a 2021 mock draft out just for, giggles. I know, I'm not blaming anyone. The Jaguars have the odds to be the worst team. Personally don't agree with it, but I'm not blaming anyone for going with Vegas odds.
Right.
But you sent me one that says, anyone who includes Jamie Newman in the first round of their 2021 mock draft should have their credentials pulled immediately.
They should...
And retweet.
Addendum. Those credentials should then come to us.
Yes, they don't need them anymore.
We'll take care of you guys.
Look, I mean, I'm not very high on the I love Jamie Newman when he was at Wake Forest. I'm not super high on him at Georgia, simply because you're implementing a new system. He struggled against his best competition when he was at Wake Forest.
Yeah.
And you have to break in new receivers with him in a new offense in this public health climate. No.
In this economy?
Yeah, and here's the thing. Jamie Newman, there's a reality that exists, we know, because Jake Fromm literally lived this reality, and so many college quarterbacks do.
Yeah.
You can be awesome at your school at a place like Georgia. You could win the ACC even and not be a first-round pick. Like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't really care what happens. I don't think Jamie Newman's going to be a first-round pick.
No, I don't either. I don't think it's going to be... He won't even be able to play himself into the first round.
Yeah.
That's the case. So... All right, well, mine is also kind of college football related. Yours is more draft related, but mine's college football related. This is from the official Paul Feinbaum account.
Oh, boy.
It is from an interview that Paul did with Buddy Martin from Gatorbait Media. We love Buddy Martin. And he says, Buddy Martin tells us that Gators quarterback Kyle Trask has been working out near his hometown in Houston during the shutdown. Quote, if you had to pick a preseason all-SEC quarterback right now, it would have to be Kyle Trask. And Tyler, I've never read more truer words in my life.
No, they should put it down and like in parchment paper and like seal it in a vault.
100%.
That's the holy written word right there.
Put it in the Louvre. What do you got to lose? We had this conversation at the end of the season in our way too early conversation about next year's roster, and we will have this conversation yet again when we get closer to the beginning of the season. But Kyle Trask is QB1.
Yeah.
End of sentence.
He's QB. Okay, he is QB1 in on Florida's roster. But I think he's QB1 in the conference. I
think so too.
Like, here's the thing: Kyle Trask may not end up having the best season. Because there's so many quarterbacks that will come and might be good, and they've never played a snap before. So we can't qualify that. Like that happens all the time. But there's no returning starting quarterback I would take over Kyle Trask.
Correct.
At all.
Correct. And get your Kellen Mond assessments out of my face.
No, stop it with the Kellen Mond hype.
Yeah.
I still pretend to this day. You cannot run for more yards than you pass against Oklahoma State. Keep in mind, he only passed for 90 yards. he freaking Blake Bortles. And we're giving this man preseason all...
No.
I mean, Kyle Trask is not going to be the preseason all-conference quarterback. He should, but he won't be just because, media.
We have to see. I have to go back and look, but we'll have that conversation later on. I'll have to go back and look at the other players. But I just wanted to shout out that at least in Gainesville, Kyle Trask is QB1.
Yeah.
And listen, Emory's going to have his time. Emory's going to have his time to shine. I think it's in his benefit, especially with the coronavirus situation, for him to come back this year. He knows Trask is gone after next year. It gives him 1 year. Yeah. It gives him 1 year to really boost his draft stock if he wants, and then dips, or he can be the starting quarterback for 2 years there, and then go ahead into the draft. I mean, Mullen doesn't go away from his incumbent quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like we can talk all about what we wanted to, but Mullen has never sat a quarterback just because.
Tim Tebow was in the wings for a full season, and Chris Leak was running the show.
Yeah, and that is what happens, and I think that. Well, that's the other thing that I always talk about, where I'm like, I think it'd be smart for Emory Jones to stay because at least until he can get. If he was going to transfer, stay until you can graduate transfer, because then you
can play right away.
Where are you going to go where you're going to get better developed than with Dan Mullen?
Yeah, and this
Like
year,
where,
this is
honestly.
the last year that he'll have before he's eligible for a grad transfer. And then at that point, do you transfer somewhere
Might as well
else?
stay and be the
You might as well stay and be the
starting
starter at Florida. You know.
Like,
Anyway.
yeah.
All right, Tyler. Well, that seems to wrap it up for this episode of Sideline Judgment. Remember, next week we will be back with our NFC team-by-team draft classes, talking about all the magic that happened over the course of those 3 days. Tyler, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, it's just this was a lot of fun. We're glad we were able to talk about our teams. I think that it's funny, both our teams are probably going to finish last in our divisions, but like I'm actually feeling pretty good about my team, like all things considered.
Me too. I agree. The future's bright for us, I think.
I would like to think so.
Exactly.
Season hasn't started yet, so
we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. But
this has been another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased. Go Gators. Always good for
Gators,
Go Gators.
baby.